Wow, it's me, and it's my gays, and we're the gays. Welcome, gays. Hi, we're reading Scum Villain. Again. Because it's my favorite book in the world. I woke up 2 hours ago. Don't come for me. I literally woke up 2 hours ago, and I had a dream that I was an actual cat. Like, I was like a little black cat running from this crazy lady trying to catch me. Literally not to do anything, just to catch me, you know, and hold me. Like, leave me alone, lady! God! Anyway. Yes, the gays indeed. The gay gays. The gay gays? Gaze? Anyway, I hope you're awake. I hope I'm not gonna put you to sleep right now. Hello. I have tea. It smells like bubblegum, and I'm worried that it'll taste like that. Kinda smells weird. It's supposed to be like a hibiscus and berry tea. It was weird. I was up late last night. Fair enough. It's too hot right now. I'm not even gonna try. Anyway, last we left off in this book, what happened? Oh, they finished the quest with the Skinner demon. And now his OOC feature is unfrozen. Now he can carry out all of his things that he wants to do within the way that he wants to do. Which you might think would make this so easy for him, but no, he's an overthinker and he will still... You know, I think he would do the same thing even if he didn't have a system, you know? Because the system is telling him to do this, do that, do this, do that, do quests and stuff. He would do it anyway just to make the plot better of this book because he hates it so much. I think he would. I think at first he would try to run away, and then he'd be like, oh, but none of this makes sense. None of this makes any sense. I have to go back and fix all this. And then he'd do that. Oh, Shen Yuan, the man that you are. Okay. Shall we start? We are on page 85. Thank you for the point routines. We're on at the end of page 85 after the break. Yes, I don't know even if we're gonna finish this chapter today because it's quite long. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Whoa. Whoa. Ah. Okay. Sorry, did I scare you? Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. I'm trying to wire my... Ew, what? What the fuck is that? Kind of tastes like gummy worms. Or just worms. I don't know. It's a weird flavored tea. Anyway, we're on chapter 2, mission page 85. I'm trying to turn my reading brain on. It's not going. Okay, let's go. 3, 2, 1, go. Wait, your name was stretch. God, okay, fine. I'll stretch. Ow, don't yawn when you stretch your arms above your head sometimes if you have weird bones and muscles. Hi, Thunder. We haven't started yet. I'm right about to start. All right. Upon returning to Sangchong Mountain, the first thing Chen Qingzhou did was ascend Qingding Peak, which was safeguarded by the sect leader, and report his work to Ye Qingyuan. Previously, Shen Qingzhou had thought Jiangmen Shishong's existence was basically that of a quest-giving NPC, but as soon as he entered the mountain gates, this impression disappeared without a trace. Shen Qingzhou had yet to enter the main hall when Yue Qingyuan descended upon him, leading a retinue of Chongding Peak disciples to welcome him. You know, I've read this many times, but I've never read it out loud. So I'm saying these words for this first time, some of them. They had just come face to face and smiled at each other, and hadn't yet even said anything when Yue Qingyuan's right hand grasped Shen Qingzhou's wrist. Shen Qingzhou was instantly surprised. However, Yue Qingyuan made no further movements and instead examined him attentively through his pulse, even inserting a mild spiritual flow of his own to investigate Shen Qingzhou's. We love Yue Qingyuan. Oh my god, he's so tragic. He realized that Yue Qingyuan was only inspecting his spiritual circulation, and he relaxed. After a moment, Yue Qingyuan let go. He smiled and walked with Shen Qingzhou to the main hall. How was the training? His tone was like that of an eldest brother, which meant... I'm sorry, it's fine. His tone was like that of an eldest brother, which made Shen Qingzhou remember his former self's two brothers. He felt a slight sorrow, but greater still was the comforting sense of warmth, to the point that even his dejected report came out cheery, unsatisfactory. His disciples hadn't so much as glimpsed the Skinner demon's shadow. Speaking from the angle of disciple training, the trip really had been a bust. No need to rush, said Yue Qingyuan. Shen Qingzhou nodded before suddenly changing the topic. Jiangmen Xishang, I wish to go to the back of I wish to go to the back of Chongding Peak and enter secluded cultivation within the Lingxi caves. Chongding Peak was the head of the 12 peaks, and naturally it collected the essence of the heavens and earth. As for the Lingxi caves, they were why can I never say this fucking word? They were Chongding Peak's best location for cultivating, giving twice the results in half the time. Therefore, the sect's most senior members and outstanding disciples could request permission from the sect leader to enter the caves for secluded cultivation. Only with the sect leader's approval could they act upon this desire. If Shen Qingzhou wanted to enter seclusion in the Lingxi caves, he was sure Yue Qingyuan wouldn't refuse. But the smile on Yue Qingyuan's lips froze a little, his expression changing slightly. Shen Qingzhou sensed something strange, but this strangeness flashed by quickly. For the Immortal Alliance conference? Yue Qingyuan asked gently. That's correct. It wasn't only because of the Immortal Alliance conference, though. The incident with the Skinner demon had made Shen Qingzhou realize the importance of diligent cultivation. In this world... Sorry. My throat's getting clogged. Already? Arg. In this world, you only had the right to think about the future if you had the strength to meet it. After all, bosses wouldn't always be... I'm reading brain, turn on already! After all, bosses wouldn't always be on easy mode and saddled with below-average intelligence. Before entering seclusion, Shen Qingzhou called over Luo Bingke and handed him an actual cultivation manual. Why is Shizun giving this disciple a completely different manual? Luo Bingke asked as he received it. Your constitution is a little different, so you can't cultivate properly by following ordinary methods, Shen Qingzhou bullshitted solemnly. He didn't want to personally reveal the truth, that Shen Qingzhou had inspired Ming Fan to give Luo Bingke a fake cultivation manual, even though eventually the truth would be exposed. As he stared after Shen Qingzhou's retreating back, Luo Bingke held the manual in both hands, his heart profoundly shaken. Shizun had specially given his manual only to him. Shen Qingzhou glanced back a couple of times and saw Luo Bingke still standing there, dumbstruck. He rubbed at the spot between his brows and kept walking. He didn't know what Luo Bingke was thinking, but the boy was almost certainly thinking too much. And that's a scene break. It's a very short, couple of pages. All right, page 88. The Lingxi caves were labyrinth. After traveling down 1,000 twists and turns, Shen Qingqiu emerged in what seemed like a different world, strange and beautiful. Here there was neither wind nor moon, yet it was cool and quiet. Together white stones like clouds and green stones like jade created wonders large and small, as well as natural stone beds. At the center lay a pool of clear water that reflected this other world like a mirror. The only thing that marred the beauty was that some cultivator who'd previously gone into seclusion here hadn't properly cherished this public facility. The cave walls were covered in countless gashes and gouges made by both blade and sword glares. The stone walls were further plastered with swaths of dried blood, and the stains had already blackened. This was only one cavern of many, and though it looked a tad like a murder scene, Shen Qingqiu was very satisfied and had no plans to find another location. He sat on the stone bed and began to cultivate, carefully following the methods he'd memorized from manuals. He's already memorized them! He's already... Xinyuan... he was waiting for this day. My god. Then as if the heavens didn't want him to try to honestly farm B points, not long after he began meditating, he heard a strange sound. Panting. The panting of a person in pain. At the same time, he sensed a burst of nigh rampant spiritual energy. All right, he knew what had happened. The Lingxi caves were gigantic. Of course Shen Qingqiu couldn't be the only person who'd asked permission to enter seclusion. Someone else was cultivating here as well, and they had entered a qi deviation, which was currently at a critical juncture. I only wanted to cultivate in seclusion and farm martial skill points. That's all! Can you not do this? Can you not? All of those words had an exclamation mark after them. Oh my god. Scum stream, huh? You're invading my YouTube chat. Real. Oh my god. That's crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. Shen Qingqiu's eyes snapped open as he decided to investigate. He followed that sound and the waves of spiritual energy as he navigated the various twists and turns. As he went, the disturbances became larger and larger. At last, he arrived in another cavern. As soon as he entered, he saw a figure clothed in white facing away from him, their longsword stabbed into a rock all the way to the hilt. I wonder who it could be! I wonder who it could possibly be! It could possibly be Best Boy Sun! Oh my god. I just commented for the deviation. Yeah. Simple watching on 2 platforms because I'm a Chad. Real! Go on Twitch for the stream avatars and then on YouTube for the lols, I guess. I wonder who it could be. Oh, sorry, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I love this guy. I love this guy. I love this guy. Okay. Oh, the boy, the lad, the legend. Real. Okay, I'm just gonna read it, actually. I'm just gonna read it. At last. No, I already read that. Sword glares flew in every direction, without order or pattern. The smears of blood on the person in white said victim, but their movements said crazed murderer. This person's chi deviation was pretty horrifying. Shen Qingqiu mulled it over. With his half-assed knowledge, if he tried to smooth this person's spiritual circulation, it was hard to say whether he would be more likely to help or accidentally stab another spiritual knife into the fellow's back. It was then that he changed... What? Sorry. It was then that he caught sight of that sword. With its master's spiritual energy out of control, the sword trembled unceasingly, pulling itself free a sliver at a time, all while emitting an ear-piercing shriek. Silver light ran down the hilt's engraved incantations and phoenix ornaments in an unending stream. Blech. Shen Qingqiu needed only a single glance to recognize which sword it was, whose sword it was. Fuck. Of all people, he had to meet that guy. Before, he'd wanted to help, but now all he wanted was to flee for his life. It was too late. The person in white swung his head around, having already detected his presence. I'm sorry. I was just thinking about the dogma. I was just thinking about the dogma. I can't unsee it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you don't know, there's an animation. There's an animated show that is based on this, and I'm sorry, you just have to see it for yourself. It's great. It's great. It only covers like most of the first book, but it's great. I can't. I'm sorry. It's fine. In any other state, Shen Qingqiu might have declared, "What a beautiful man!" But the man could be as beautiful as he wanted, and if he glared at you with crimson eyes and bulging veins, you'd scramble to kneel, okay? Shen Qingqiu fled with a flick of his sleeves, but the man slapped the stone wall and sent rubble flying. The long sword finally broke free of the rock, and it shot through the air to stop before Shen Qingqiu's eyes, blocking his path. He barely managed to break in time. Had he been running even a little faster, he would have been beheaded. In the next instant, the white-clad man rushed him, his eyes devoid of reason. Shen Qingqiu knew it was too late to run, and he could only steel himself to meet this fight head-on. He drew spiritual energy into his right hand, putting everything into this one blow. He struck the man's chest. If this person really was the man the rumors painted him to be, with enough martial prowess to take on the protagonist's OP abilities, this hit would be damn near useless. Not only damn near useless, Shen Qingqiu might be the one sent flying 10 meters back while coughing up fresh blood or something. However, it wasn't useless. The one sent flying a meter back while coughing up blood wasn't Shen Qingqiu, but the other guy. Shen Qingqiu raised his hand while staring at the person he had knocked flat. To think he was already this badass without even making the effort to fake it. In truth, while those who entered chi deviations were terrifying when berserk, they were also terribly fragile. With luck, a single strike could be the last straw that broke their back. Expression conflicted, Shen Qingqiu watched the man half kneel in pain, straining to rise and rip into his foe, only to collapse back onto one knee. At last, Shen Qingqiu sighed and moved closer, placing a hand on the man's back. Let me say this first. Shen Qingqiu didn't concern himself with whether the man could understand him. He was saying it for himself. If I don't help you now, it'll be too late. I'm not familiar with how this works, though, so if anyhow, I'll have tried my best, so don't blame me. After who knew how long, Shen Qingqiu felt the man's spiritual circulation gradually even out and return to normal. His worry slowly eased, and he withdrew his palm. All that remained was to pray that his slapdash, desperate attempt to help hadn't impaired the man's cultivation. The man... Wait, Chengluan has phoenix imagery as in rebirth for... Oh. I didn't catch that either. What? Wait. Okay. That's beautiful. Fuck you. XTX. Oh my god. I would joke that Aries is losing his mind, but that would require having one to begin with. So true! Oh, but this book does make me lose my mind a bit more. Just a little bit more. The man he'd miraculously managed to save remained with his head lowered, still not yet fully conscious. To be honest, Shen Qingqiu had already guessed this person's identity, but the system's notification provided absolute confirmation. Congratulations, system notification. The scenario, Lu Qingge's death, has been changed. The villain Shen Qingqiu's grave digging and hatefulness ratings have decreased. B points plus 200. Yup, called it. This was his Shidi from the same sect. He was also a sucker who had been done in by the original Shen Qingqiu. The master of Baijian Peak of Sangchong Mountain's 12 peaks, Lu Qingge. He was a character who personified badassery. The 12 peaks in Sangchong Mountain each had their own long histories and distinctive characteristics. For example, the head, Chongding Peak, coordinated the big picture and oversaw the entire group. Shen Qingqiu's Qingjing Peak was a favorite of scholars and young artists. Wanjian Peak and their perfect environment had produced legions of master swordsmen since time immemorial. Kuxing Peak's name, ascetic practice, spoke for itself. Even if you whipped Shen Qingqiu, he still wouldn't want to go. Xianshu Peak, meanwhile, was a drool-worthy heaven. Is this the first time and, last time we'll ever hear about the other peaks? Apart from the Immortal Alliance conference. But, we don't really hear about the other peaks ever again. That was because this last peak only accepted female disciples. Oh my god. Forgot about that. A drool-worthy heaven, of course. Well, I mean, let's be real though. They're not wrong. And historically, their disciples were highly attractive. Historically. It was therefore filled to the brim with beautiful girls. There had been no shortage of lewd fan work written by perverted readers, blossoming en masse like flowers. Of these, a tyrannical Xianshu fell in love with me, and my day sleeping around on Xianshu Peak had been particularly outstanding, filled with grade school level writing and erotic scenes with no bottom line. The circulation and impact of these fanfics had been enormous, to the point that their popularity compared to that of the original work. Sorry. I'm sorry. Oh my god, my foot is falling asleep. Ow. It really hurts. Again, I was sitting on it, so oh my god. I'm trying to ignore it, but it's really hurting me. Hang on, I need to stand up for a second. My circulation is really bad, if you didn't know. I have really, really bad blood circulation, and this happens very often. Stop it! I'm really trying to make it not hurt as fast as possible, but you can't really it doesn't work that way. Should I just read standing up? Should I just read standing up? Where was I even? The fanfics, yes. But out of all the peaks, the one youths loved the most, revered the most, and were the wildest about joining was definitely Lu Qingge's Baijian Peak. Hang on, let me put my mic closer. It was the most warlike of Sangchong Mountain's branches, as well as the branch with the greatest martial ability. Every single generation's Baijian Peak Lord was a world-class swordsmaster, a victor of countless battles, an undefeated legend. How hot-blooded, how dashing! Male readers always fervently admired strong characters. Even though Lu Qingge never officially debuted on page, he hadn't lacked for fans, and Shen Yuan had been especially fascinated with him. In his headcanon, Lu Qingge had been a sharp and manly man, powerful and magnificent. A war god, right? Shen Qingqiu looked down at that face, as beautiful as a fine woman's, and his dreams shattered and died. The fantasies The fantasies he'd always held, destroyed. How could the invincible Baijan Peak Lord look like his spiritual antithesis? Antithesis. I know what that word means. This was clearly the face of a charming young master who arranged flowers and plucked farewell willow branches. With this appearance, you've totally betrayed the headcanons of your martial prowess fanatics. Then again, it made sense. Lu Qingge was the older brother of the number 1 true female lead, the peerless beauty, Lu Mingyan. As the protagonist's wife, she absolutely had to be first class from top to bottom. It was just science for her to have such powerful genes. Undefeatable in battle, an arrogant disposition, and an attractive face. With Binge around, a second character in the same mold was unnecessary. No wonder Great Master Airplane had offed him so early. Okay. I can sit down now. Oh my god. Where was I? Not even the protagonist, yet you dare to share those qualities? Of course you'd be either exceptional cannon fodder or dead in seconds. It hadn't occurred to Shen Qingzhou at the moment, but as he thought about it now, how might saving this person impact Luo Binghe's satisfaction points? There were few details on Lu Qingge, but he played a very important role in highlighting the depths of Shen Qingzhou's general scumminess. Even though the Lu Shen pair were sex siblings, they didn't get along. This was why Shen Qingzhou had tried to flee at first. Already unable to see eye to eye on a normal day, throwing Lu Qingge into a qi deviation was just asking him to either chase down and hack Shen Qingzhou to death, or, like in the original work, to have Shen Qingzhou sabotage and kill him instead. Though no one knew why their hatred ran so deep, it was the sure fact that the original Shen Qingzhou had been Lu Qingge's murderer. The exposure of this incident was one of, in quotation, in parentheses, the enticing incident that marked the start of Shen Qingzhou's downfall. The specific line they used to condemn Shen Qingzhou went something like, taking advantage of an opening during another's cultivation, he intervened, driving the man to his death. So this very moment was likely when he'd made his move. Why can I not read without stopping every 2 seconds? I am just too excited. I really do love this man. I really do. The original Shen Qingzhou killed the female lead's only family, so of course Luo Binghe took revenge for his wife. Shen Qingzhou's hatefulness quotient was truly extraordinary. While Shen Qingzhou was crouching there, worrying over his future, Lu Qingge had finished coughing up blood and finally regained consciousness. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Shen Qingzhou sitting before him, with a bored expression, looking down his stuck-up nose at him. He definitely didn't look like someone with good intentions. Oh, but they're so pretty. Oh, but they're so pretty. They should kiss. They should kiss or something, you know? I don't know, maybe. Alarmed, Lu Qingge violently jerked upright, ready to defend himself. The motion jarred his badly injured organs, throwing his chi circulation into chaos. Another mouthful of blood sprayed out of him. Shiri, regulate your chi. Don't be so agitated, Shen Qingzhou said coolly. You're the Baijian Peak Lord. How could you let yourself look so wretched? Here, wipe yourself off. He passed Lu Qingge a handkerchief. Lu Qingge coughed up more blood. Blood. Shen, what the hell are you planning now? And now it's time for an illustration. Because that page had an illustration. Oh my god, who could it be? Who could it be but the Lu Qingge? We love him. And also, this is his reference. Isn't he such a beautiful man? Sorry, I'm shouting, but isn't he such a beautiful man? Isn't he such a beautiful man? Oh, I love him. Smash, I know, right? Oh, I love him. And his fuck ass birthmark. I can't stand him. I can't stand him. He's too beautiful. I feel like Shen Yuan right now. What the fuck? Why does this man have to be so beautiful? That's exactly what I feel like right now. Anyway, we'll just keep that up for a second. We'll keep this one up for a second. Seeing how much he was suffering, Shen Qingqiu lightly clapped him on the back. Lu Qingge instantly assumed that Shen Qingqiu intended him harm, but he was helpless to avoid the touch. Only after the palm connected did he feel a clear, steady stream of spiritual energy enter and flow through his body, smoothing his circulation. Lu Qingge was more aghast than he would have been if Shen Qingqiu had stabbed him in the back. After all, he was used to the backstabbing. Shen Qingqiu continued to pat his back. Lu Shidi, to tell you the truth, lately Xishang has been in seclusion, and he's come to realize many things, he said earnestly. Seeing you at death's door, a beauty fading, dying so young, it brought back so many memories. Xishang is deeply ashamed and filled with regret. A beauty fading. Lu Qingge began to hack up blood even more profusely. You and me both, buddy. From this point on, how about we leave our disagreements behind us and move forward hand in hand as a pair of model sex siblings, full of affection due to fellow sect members, Shen Qingqiu suggested, tactfully expressing his goodwill. How do you feel about this, Shidi? Laying his objective out straight was a little shameful, but since he hadn't killed Lu Qingge and had thereby changed the scene and avoided its evil karma, he figured why not go all the way and simply build a good relationship? Maybe Master Lu could even back him up in the future. Oh boy, does he! I mean, what? I don't know what we're talking about. Lu Qingge's complexion was abnormally poor. He looked Shen Qingqiu in the eyes for a while. Then, as if he'd finally reached the limits of his tolerance, he said, You, go away. Shen Qingqiu nodded in understanding. After all, they'd hated each other for so long. You couldn't farm favor points so soon after a heel turn. He couldn't rush this thing, only take it slow. He went as asked, waving behind him without looking back as he walked away. If Shidi runs into more trouble during training, there's no need to be shy. You can call Xishang for help. Since we're so close, we should take care of each other. Lu Qingge looked like he would cough up more blood if Shen Qingqiu said anything further. His glare was terrifying. Shen Qingqiu wisely shut his mouth and did as he had been told. Lu Qingge was left alone as he painfully hacked up another mouthful of blood. Beautiful. Put that away now. Love the fact that he was just dying and is covered in his own blood, and both you and Shen Qingqiu are like, he is somebody especially dying and covered in blood. Are you kidding me? Especially. He's so gorgeous. He's so gorgeous. They had always been at odds. Ever since he was young, Lu Qingge had been unable to stand Shen Qingqiu. Both parties had deeply despised each other. It wasn't the type of vitriol you'd see when a belligerent but happy couple fought and argued, but the type where one wrong word could escalate into violence, even to the point of trying to kill each other. The fact that Shen Qingqiu hadn't kicked him while he was down was inconceivable itself, but to go so far as to help, even save him. But the reality was, right before him, Lu Qingge's face couldn't help twisting. He was unable to remember what had happened after the moment he lost control, but now his spiritual circulation was smooth. He couldn't have straightened it himself during his frenzy. He must have had outside assistance. Could Shen Qingqiu really have helped him? Just thinking about this possibility filled Lu Qingge with revulsion. He would rather have died. I love him! Oh my god. Okay, that is a scene break. And we're on page 98. It's about a chapter long. I mean, a chapter as in 10 pages long. Alright. Time for Luchinga's surprise enemies to lover speedrun. Woohoo! Woohoo! I love it so much. I love him so much. I love him so much. Oh my god. I need to draw him more. I've already drawn him like a couple times. But I need to do it more. Anyway. Top of page 98. Even though the person he'd worked so hard to save was disgusted with him, Shen Qingqiu was incomparably satisfied. Luchinga should have died by his hand, but Shen Qingqiu had saved the man through a series of freak coincidences. If he could befriend Luchinga, even if his plan to raise Lo Binghe to the top 10 best disciple didn't succeed, as the master of Baijian Peak, Luchinga could at least stand beside him as a fellow sex sibling and help shield him a little. Although this was a little utilitarian, as his own sorry life was on the line. It was no time for moral dilemmas. There was no sense of time within the caves. Shen Qingqiu felt like he hadn't done anything at all when the day to end his seclusion arrived. Shen Qingqiu sat cross-legged on a stone platform, eyes shut. He kept them closed until the last wisp of spiritual energy had finished circulating through all his limbs and bones. Having intensely cultivated for several months, he could freely control his spiritual energy and had risen one level above his original cultivation base. This told him that he had obtained 100% command over his body, and even the last shreds of discoordination had been annihilated. Both his eyes shone brightly, and his immortal figure now felt distinctly different from how it had been. Shen Qingqiu jumped down from the stone platform, his body all the more graceful, as if his 4 limbs had been instilled with a breeze and filled with vigor. Of course, it was possible that this was only his subjective feeling. After all, the days in seclusion had passed so quickly, as if he jumped ahead in a video progress bar. If this were a novel, and not one padded out like that of Great Master Airplanes, the plot would have finished in 1 chapter. Before leaving, he thought he ought to greet his neighbor, and so he knocked on the stone wall. "Shidi, how is your situation over there?" he asked. "Xishang will be leaving first." His voice echoed in the empty cavern. While not loud, it could be clearly heard by a cultivator like Luchinga. As expected, he received no response. Shen Qingqiu didn't mind. It was enough to express his kind wishes. In parentheses, question mark. Oh my god. With a sweep of his hem, he exited the caves like the wind whispered beneath his feet, ready to welcome the approaching storm. If he had correctly calculated the time and date, it was about time for an upcoming story event of critical importance. It could have been considered the first small climax of the early narrative. The demons would arrive, armed and eager to provoke a fight, thereby trigger mass panic. This small climax also included a brief glimpse of 2 of the book's important female leads, whereupon they'd start paying attention to Luo Binghe. The Lingxi caves were isolated from the outside world, and the interior of the caves was tranquil, but as soon as Shen Qingqiu exited them, he found the entirety of Chongding Peak consumed by the fire and smoke of war. Panicked disciples ran every which way, and the alarm bells rang in united clamor. Shen Qingqiu instantly understood. They'd already appeared. Perfect timing. He'd arrived just at the right moment. As soon as they saw him, several disciples from some peak or another threw themselves at him. Shenqibo, you finally left seclusion. It's a disaster. Monsters from the demon realm sneaked into Chongding Peak and injured many of our sex siblings. Shen Qingqiu patted the disciple with each hand. Patted a disciple with each hand. Settle down. Where is Jiangman Xishang? Jiangman Shibo left the mountain on important business, Disciple A said tearfully. Otherwise, how else could those monstrous demons have used this chance to invade? Those monstrous demons are truly despicable, Disciple B said furiously. Not only did they take advantage of our vulnerability to invade, they also severed the rainbow bridges connecting the 12 peaks and set up some strange barrier. Now Chongding Peak is completely unable to receive support from other peaks. Shen Qingzhou knew all of this. He was just asking while passing through. As of now, he had gone through cultivation training, and on top of that, had experienced punching Luo Binge and kicking Luo Qingge. Eep! In parentheses. With a bearing of heroic resolve that reached the heavens, he said, "No need to panic. Our Sangchong Mountain is a majestic, unparalleled sect that has produced countless heroes. We would never fear the dregs of the demon realm." 1 second, my dog is crying to be let inside this room. Let me get him. Sir, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. You're a baby. He's a baby. He's just a baby. My dog is crying too. What's wrong with you? Captions. Sect sibling. Sex. Yeah, real. Luo Qingge. Insane. Insane. YouTube captions, I suppose. I have Twitch captions on through my OBS, but YouTube seems to be a little bit sillier. Sect siblings. See, my captions on OBS are fine with that. Sect siblings. Oh no, it's not. Never mind. Fair enough. It's for those who want to. You don't have to. Jeez. Okay. Where was I? He was being... demon realm. Right. The disciples instantly felt like they'd found a pillar of support, and they followed behind Shen Qingzhou like a train. Along the way, the disciples who'd been flailing around like headless chickens also rushed to follow, and the ones who didn't know what was happening followed as well. In the end, the procession kept growing longer and longer until they arrived before Chongding Peak's main hall. He's just collecting duckies along the way. Every single member of Sangchong Mountain Sect on Chongding Peak had come to encircle and exterminate the demons who had overtaken it deep within. Due to plot requirements, the disciples of Qingjing Peak were all coincidentally at Chongding Peak to greet Shen Qingzhou as he left seclusion, and they had been gathered there a while now. Shen Qingzhou first sought out Luo Binge's figure, and indeed saw him standing within the group, expression solemn. It had been some time since he had last seen the boy. He had grown taller by a fair amount, his youthful figure like a graceful, elongated stalk of bamboo. Along with that handsome little face, he drew a great deal of attention. Having confirmed that the protagonist was at the scene, Shen Qingzhou's heart settled, and he turned his focus to the enemy. Before the elegant, magnificent Chongding Hall stood more than 100 unknown individuals roiling with demonic qi. The leader of this invasion was in fact a young girl who appeared to be no more than 15 or 16. Shen Qingzhou's heart thumped with excitement. She's appeared! She's finally appeared! Demons loved exotic and unusual dress, but even among them, this girl's fashion sense was exceptionally unorthodox. Her jet-black head of hair had been combed into many small braids, her complexion was fair, her eye makeup bold, her lips abnormally scarlet. Although she was young, it was self-evident that she would grow into a woman of overwhelmingly glamorous bearing. Amazing. As it was a hot day, she had dressed lightly, having essentially only wrapped herself in several bolts of gauzy red cloth. Her wrists and ankles were decorated with silver bangles. The tiny bells on every limb jingled with her slight movements. Her bare, snowy white feet directly touched the ground. Shen Qingqiu couldn't help side-eyeing them a couple of times. This guy! His thoughts weren't undecent, but rather, you've traveled thousands of miles from the demon realm, crossing land and sea, and after arriving, you even climbed this tall mountain barefoot? Young miss, do your feet really not hurt? Wait, that wasn't the point. The point was that this was, in parentheses, one of the most popular female leads in the novel of Proud Immortal Demon Wei, Demon Saintess Sha Hualing. We love her. I love her. I love her so much. Honestly, Sha Hualing is such a boss girly leading armies when I was drawing bad anime for my grandma. Real! Oh, but she's still cringe, but we love her. She is... God, I love her so much. She's so silly. She's so silly. Sha Hualing was a pure-blooded demon, vicious and merciless, crafty and proud, yet she was madly in love with Luo Binke. After getting involved with Luo Binke, not only did she kill for him, she even dared to commit an offense as monstrously... Wait, how do you pronounce that word? Offense as monstrously... Monstrously? She even dared to commit an offense as monstrously treasonous as betraying the demon race. Though these days a good number of people often denounce this trope of a brainless, lovesick girl, there was nothing you could do. An even larger number of male readers loved it. A pity that a girl this spicy could only be enjoyed by the male lead. Shen Qingqiu couldn't help glancing at Luo Binke. At the same time, Luo Binke inadvertently swept his gaze about as well. Their two gazes met, and they both startled. Luo Binke seemed about to speak, but he said nothing. Shen Qingqiu nodded at him. The rainbow bridges had been severed. Of the various peak lords, the ones sleeping still slept, the ones in seclusion remained in seclusion, and the ones strolling kept strolling. And the ones away on official business did not return. The arrival of Shen Qingqiu, a member of the older generation, was as such powerfully reassuring. The disciples regained confidence. Ming Fan was the first to yell, "Demoness! My master is here! Let's see if you'll dare be so arrogant now!" More and more people joined the gathered crowd. Several hundred disciples in uniformly colored robes and furious expressions surrounded the invaders, trapping them in the space before the hall. Several demons tried to use the chance to break through, perfect training targets for Shen Qingqiu. He casually grabbed them, lifted them up, and threw them back to land at Sha Hualing's feet. Sha Hualing had always been clever and resourceful. Her earlier arrogance had derived from the fact that, having long enjoyed being the #1 sect, Sangchong Mountain's defenses were lax and loose. She had also seen Yue Qingyuan depart on official business, leaving Changding Peak without one of its senior members to guard it. Sensing that things had taken a turn, she changed her tune. "My people didn't climb this mountain for the sake of battle. It's just that we've long heard that Sangchong Mountain produces many talented individuals. We were so curious. We wanted to ascend the mountain for a look, as well as to spar and learn from you." I love her. She's so cunty. Yay. Oh my god. "How kind of you." Shen Qingqiu flipped his fan. "But if you've come to spar, why do so when the sect leader is away? Why sever the rainbow bridges, and why injure so many of our sect's disciples? I've never seen this method of sparring." Sha Hualing bit her lip, utilizing that weapon exclusively to young girls. Utilizing? What the hell? Utilizing. That's a word. Sorry, my nose is itchy and my dog is pacing. Go lie down, it's not time yet. Yeah, it's a couple of minutes, but What's a good stopping point? I need a little break point. Can I take a break here? I need to feed the dogs. There's not really a good place to break anywhere later. So I think I'm just gonna take a break here to feed this little guy. Okay, I'll be right back. I'll be as fast as I can, I promise. We'll get back to Shahualing real soon. Okay, burp. Okay, I'm back. Sorry that took so long. My dogs were a little slow with eating today. You're so cute. Okay. Okay, where are we? Shahualing. Shahualing. It's a cute name too. God. Where were we? Right in the middle of it. Xia Hualing bit her lip, utilizing that weapon exclusive to young girls. She twisted a stray lock of hair dangling beside her cheek around her fingers. This might be the renowned Shu Ya sword. What? This must be the renowned Shu Ya sword, Senior Shen Qingqiu, she said, drawing out each word. As expected, hearsay can't compare to seeing the real person. Ling Er is young and unable to manage her subordinates. If we have offended you or caused misunderstandings, we beg the immortal master to be magnanimous and forgiving. No matter how softly she spoke, Shen Qingqiu wouldn't be moved but the slightest bit. The truth of the situation was clearer to him than to anyone else. To lay it out plain, this trouble had begun when Xia Hualing was granted the title of a demon saintess, which had just happened. Being proud and arrogant, she had an exaggerated opinion of her own abilities. She had intended to slaughter the entirety of Sangchong Mountain's first peak in one go, then seize the nameplate hanging over Changding Hall as a war trophy and bring it back as proof of her achievement. At the same time, her exploit would be a demonstration of force directed at the human realm. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's an ad in progress. That's great. We love that. Forgot to do that. My bad. Oh, this tea is weird. Oh, I really don't like that. Oh, that's bad. Okay. Anyway. Then what is this young Miss's conclusion now? Asked Shen Qingqiu. Xia Hualing pursed her lips in a smile. Though right now my people are at a disadvantage, that's only because your sect has such great numbers. Ling Er is unable to ascertain who between us would be the victor. Oh, then what would you need to do so? Said Shen Qingqiu asked, putting on the air of an elder as smoothly as a fish took to water. Parting her red lips, Xia Hualing elegantly suggested a method that seemed fair and just. Why don't we each choose 3 representatives and hold 3 matches? This suggestion was solid. For many years, the human and demon realms had maintained an uneasy balance and had yet to drop the pretense of peace. Eliminating Xia Hualing and her mob wouldn't be impossible, but it would likely light a fuse. The demons definitely wouldn't let her death go unanswered, and it wouldn't be worth it if they stirred up an even greater conflict. On the other hand, simply letting them go would also generate trouble. They couldn't allow outsiders to come and go as they pleased from Changding Peak. By setting conditions and holding some matches, each teaching the other party a lesson or two, both parties could back down and save face. It would be the best way to handle this. Since this was the first small climax in the original work, Shen Qingqiu still remembered it fairly clearly. The first match was Shen Qingqiu versus the Demon Elder. What the fuck? The first match was Shen Qingqiu versus the Demon Elder, single arm, Doobie. To highlight Shen Qingqiu's scummy nature, he of course used despicable and underhanded means to achieve victory. By comparison, Lord Binka's honorable and upright actions in the third match illustrated a strong contrast for the readers. Now, however, Shen Qingqiu wasn't about to so pointlessly tarnish his image. Elder Single Arm's entire body was a dark purple color, and he was taciturn and reticent. At Xia Hualing's command, he walked toward a stretch of open ground. The sect's disciples cheered and shouted for their Shen Shibo. Shen Qingzhou knew the extent of this elder single arm's strength. Why is that so hard to say? You only have one arm, he said, smiling. Even if I defeat you like this, it'd be due to an unfair advantage. Oh? Xia Hualing said from behind her hand. Actually, Ling Er has a solution. How about you also cut off one of your arms? That way there won't be an unfair advantage anymore. Angry protests rose all around them. Unconcerned, Shen Qingzhou smiled slightly and slowly spread his fan. How about this? I won't use a single hand. These words threw the crowd into an uproar. Among them, Luo Bingke also stood shocked. Wouldn't use a single hand? Sorry. Xia Hualing snorted, thinking Shen Qingzhou was being full of himself, but she was also secretly filled with endless glee. If her side could win a match so easily, why wouldn't they go for it? Since Senior Shen is so ready, let us start, she said hurriedly. A number of bystanders realized then that this girl was actually quite brazen. Though her manner was pure and innocent, her words were vicious and sinister, and she rushed to take advantage of others. As a reader enjoying the drama, Shen Qingzhou had come away with one impression, but experiencing this situation for himself, he came away with another. He'd never really been charmed by Xia Hualing's way of dealing with things, but between her youth and her daintiness, he had at least been able to force himself to regard her behavior as cute, lolly willfulness, until now. Under those gazes, Shen Qingzhou stayed true to his word and didn't draw his sword. Instead, he played with the fan in his hand, smiling at Elder Single Arm. Elder Single Arm only had one arm, but that didn't even slightly hinder his ability to swing his beheading saber. But his savage swings didn't actually hit its target. He whipped around to find Shen Qingzhou was already standing behind him, still smiling. What the fuck? What the fuck can't I read? I'm sorry. He whipped around to find Shen Qingzhou, who was already standing behind him, still smiling. In truth, Shen Qingzhou's face was getting sore. However, Xu Ya had already left its sheath. Shen Qingzhou hadn't directly touched his sword at all. His left hand had subtly formed a sword seal, commanding Xu Ya to fly and turn over, brandishing itself. Elder Single Arm's eyes were struck with pain from the flashes of the sword's snow-white gleam. He rushed to lift his saber and attack again. Saber and sword clashed in a succession of incessant ringing clangs while sparks sprayed and danced. The crowd was unable to tear the crowd was unable to tear their eyes away. In reality, this was just a competition, but anyone would have called it both captivating and captivating. In italics, I guess. What? The first captivating encompassed... What? Okay, they're explaining it now. The first captivating encompassed the impressiveness of the fight, where the use of real weapons made it a matter of life and death. But what made it captivating, in italics, were the magnificent visual effects, especially Shen Qingzhou, who moved with such skill and ease in his pure and scholarly way, surrounded by the glint of flash and blades. On top of this, he continued to gracefully and leisurely fan himself with his paper fan. It was as if any instant he would compose a poem within 7 steps, like a figure of legend. That has a footnote. According to legend, the emperor demanded the poet Cao Ji compose a poem within 7 steps to prove he was innocent of treason. Describes extraordinary literary talent. I can read. Captivating but spicy. Exactly. I can read, I promise. I'm doing that thing where I'm not like looking ahead to see the word, which makes reading very one step at a time. And it's not very good to read that way because then I can't do tones and stuff. Anyway. Ew. Anyway. Such utterly breathtaking style. No achieving this level of badass was far too perfect. What? No. Achieving this level of badass was far too perfect. As Lo Binghe watched, his heart practically galloped and his soul trembled. He'd known Shen Qingqiu was incredible, but he'd never anticipated that he was this incredible. So strong! Surrounded by the cheers of the sect's disciples, Shen Qingqiu attained a complete victory in the first match. At this moment, Shen Qingqiu realized why the original flavor had clung to being a poser like it was his lifeline. It was unbelievably satisfying. The disciples' gazes formed a sea of sparkling stars. What an interesting experience! Shen Qingqiu was certain now, a Scum villain could also gain reputation points. At the same time, the system also gave him some good news. Demonic Invasion of the Immortals Mountain, first match of the competition, Shen Qingqiu's victory, martial skill rating, plus 50, B points, plus 50. Shen Qingqiu's pleased smile didn't last long. The system's next notification came like a slap to the face. System alert. If Lo Binghe does not participate in the competition, 1,000 points will be deducted from the protagonist's satisfaction points. What? Completely unprepared, Shen Qingqiu turned pale with shock. He'd been laboring to earn satisfaction points, huffing and puffing like an old ox dragging a broken cart, and only managed to earn somewhere in the 300s. And in an instant, he risked losing 1,000? System, are you trying to get people killed? This competition was an important part of the plot. At the same time, it also served as a small, early-stage climax that debuted two female leads and pitted their splendor against each other, and the consequences of it later enabled the protagonist to get an underling, and also allowed him to learn secret techniques. All important things. If Lo Binghe didn't make it on stage this time, he would miss the If Lo Binghe didn't make it on stage this time, he would miss the limelight and be unable to grab everyone's attention. Hence, negative 1,000 satisfaction points. But if Shen Qingqiu named him a sect representative and sent him into a fight, what would he be doing? The original flavor pushed Lo Binghe into the battlefield because he was shameless. He didn't care about the sect's reputation. He hated Lo Binghe to the bone, enough to want to vicariously torture him via the hands of the demons. The current Shen Qingqiu didn't share any of those three motives. And at the end of everything, why was someone else responsible for the oh-so-mighty protagonist's satisfaction points? Shen Qingqiu was still angrily rebuking the system for its unscientific approach when the time came for the start of the second match. Xia Hualing had been afraid that Shen Qingqiu would fight all three matches himself and swiftly said, "If the same representative competes in all three matches, we would lose the chance to truly learn from each other. I will be my people's representative for the second match." No doubt Xia Hualing had entered first because she believed in her own strength, but she also likely thought that Shen Qingqiu wouldn't use his senior position to bully a girl who was his junior. Shen Qingqiu didn't want to concern himself with her thoughts at all and demonstrated as much. Even if he'd originally had the ambition to fight all three matches to earn martial ability points and reputation, the system's notification had extinguished those hopes. However, the second match didn't have an impressive, attention-worthy highlight. "You've all heard her," said Shen Qingqiu. "Who is willing to bear this heavy duty?" Even though he was asking all the disciples of the sect, his gaze fell on a certain pocket of the crowd. Within that pocket stood a collection of graceful female disciples. Without a doubt, they belonged to Shan Shu Peak. In this group of pretty girls, each fairer, more beautiful, and more refined than the last, one stood out, a veil draped over her face. Immediately after Shen Qingzhou asked this question, she slowly stepped forward from the crowd. Ah! Despite himself, a burst of excitement fluttered in Shen Qingzhou. It's here! It's almost here! The two biggest female leads in the book! Their first 1v1! Lu Mingyan was a great beauty. A heaven and earth-shattering great beauty at the sight of whom both gods and ghosts would weep. Even though she belonged to Shanshu Peak, which had produced generations of beautiful women since ancient times, she was still a crane amongst chicken, rising above and beyond them all. Her older brother was Bai Jian Peak's master, but because she was younger, she entered the sect later and became a disciple of Shanshu Peak's next generation. Because her face was excessively beautiful, capable of stealing souls, she had to hide it behind a veil all year round, rendering her like unto a flower on a high cliff, unattainable and out of reach. In brief, for the purpose of describing this character's appearance, Master Airplane Shooting Towards the Sky had probably used every single flattering vocabulary word and idiom he'd learned from elementary through to high school. He must have had it hard. I love that anytime he can shit on Airplane, he does. He takes it every time. I love it. Okay. Shen Qingzhou was very fond of this female lead, and it wasn't only because Lu Mingyan's beauty points were the highest. It was also because she had great poise. She always understood the big picture and grasped the general situation. Her conduct was fair and honest. Even in Luo Binghe's gigantic harem, a wife with both intelligence and moral character was rare. There was one more appeal factor. Lu Mingyan was the only female character for whom Airplane Shooting Towards the Sky didn't write detailed sex scenes. Many readers had been highly dissatisfied with this arrangement, to the point that they spammed the comments with their ratings. But this had given Lu Mingyan something no other female lead had, an image as clear as ice and pure as jade. In italics. Can't be helped the unattainable ones are always the best. And then a fucking cow emoji that's going, eat. I don't know how to explain that. I can't copy and paste it from the page. I don't know how to explain it. Oh my god. It was also because she was easy for even a guy like him to use as a self-insert. Oh my god. For real. Okay. You know, there's an illustration on that page, but that's not the right time for that illustration, so I'll bring it up when it comes up. This was what made the second match worth watching. Oh, it's up now. It's time! Lu Mingyan, Xia Hualing, gorgeous, gorgeous girls. I love them. Oh, I love them. I had drawn them getting married. Should go look at that. My on Blue Sky for my fan art is Scary Aries with W's. Look at them. Look at the back. Oh my god, we love it. I like that one a lot. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. Anyway, this was what made the second match worth watching. An evil demoness naturally demanded a righteous saintess as a rival. Every man dreamed of being caught between an angel and a devil, to watch them jealously vie with each other over him one moment, then risk life and limb for his sake in the next. That was the highest, most sacred, perverse fantasy of every male organism. He could get drunk off the wild, untamed charm of the wicked seductress, and at the same time his heart would ache for the austere taste of a pure saintess, who kept pulling him closer only to push him away. One had to admit, I say Airplane Shooting Towards the Sky as it's like But it just comes out. It's not even there. One had to admit Great Master Airplane was genuinely good at nailing what people found satisfying. Shen Qingqiu couldn't help giving Luo Binghe another glance. Luo Binghe found it very hard not to care about that gaze. Why exactly did Shen Qingqiu keep looking at him? Was it possible that Shizun really had an interest in him? This poor boy. This poor sweet boy. Oh my god. What a pity that under Great Master Airplane Shooting Towards the Sky's pen, battles between female characters usually lacked any standout moments, other than ripping beep for the male gaze. No, actually, if Shen Qingqiu thought about it, as written by the Great Master, none of these battles had any memorable moments. It was always the same tired phrases like lightning, light like a lightning flash, colorful as a rainbow, sword glares of every color, horrifying as a monster, etc. So good. Several incense times later, Lu Mingyan lost. After all, at this time she hadn't yet gone to Wanjian Peak to claim her personal sword, even though she did her utmost. Her weapon was only a slender, ordinary blade, while Xia Hualing was already a demon saintess with saintly weapons in ready supply at her beck and call. Naturally, there was a gap between their abilities. Lu Mingyan approached Shen Qingqiu. This disciple has lost. For failing the mission, I request Shen Shibo's punishment. We love her. She's so precious. Okay, we'll put that away, because, that's the end of that fight. It's just so done and over so fast. When no one else would come forward, you assumed this responsibility, said Shen Qingqiu. This fight would never have been easy, whether you attained victory or suffered defeat. Both were acceptable outcomes. You need not be concerned. You need only take back the victory in the future. Having taken the second round, Xia Hualing's face was glowing and she laughed delicately. This last match will decide the overall victor. I wonder who Senior Shen will send out. This time you must choose carefully. Shen Qingqiu stood with his hands clasped behind his back. This young miss need not worry, he said with a profound air. This one has long since decided on a representative that can guarantee that, no matter if he wins or loses, he will become your life's bane. It's fine. I just love him, is all. Sorry, my foot is starting to fall asleep again. I'm trying to prevent that. Circulation. Blood, please. I need more blood. Maybe I am a vampire. Anyway. Xia Hualing took these words as merely an attempt at intimidation. She clapped her hands. Which brave warrior will take the third match? From the crowd of demons, a giant elder slowly walked out. He was giant because he really was unfairly tall. Definitely more than 3 meters, wouldn't you say? Built like a bear, he had a head of disheveled hair and armor that covered him from head to toe with spikes. He dragged a great iron hammer behind him. Shen Qingqiu was positive that the ground quaked lightly with every step he took. First, who's speaking? Okay. First, to give you all a warning, the spikes on Elder Skyhammer Tian Chui's armor are Trey? Maybe it's Trey. Tian Chui's I have no idea. I think it's Trey. I think are coated with a highly toxic poison, Xia Hualing said gleefully. This poison is ineffective against demons, but if it enters a human body, there is no cure. The first thought Shen Qingqiu had was, shit, Great Master Airplane Shooting Towards the Sky. Don't just name things whatever without thinking. Calling the one with only one arm Elder Single Arm Doobie, then calling the one whose weapon was a giant hammer Elder Sky Hammer Tian Che. Are you afraid of naming things properly? Meanwhile, Xia Huoling's words had triggered. I think it's just one had. I think it's supposed to be just one had. Okay. Meanwhile, Xia Huoling's words had triggered a wave of rage on the onlookers. Piece of shit, demoness! If you want to compete, then compete. How can you say it's fair to use poison? I didn't conceal the information, did I? Xia Huoling retorted. If you think it's unfair, or are afraid of losing your life, then forfeit the match and admit defeat. Then you won't need to compete anymore. We demons don't mock you. We demons won't mock you. It's human nature to value your lives, but my people value glory over everything else. Between the demons' roaring laughter and the disciples' cries of condemnation, Shen Qingzhou rubbed the crease between his brows and silently sighed. From the reader's perspective, where you could live in the fantasy of being the protagonist, of course you'd love a woman like Xia Huoling and find her satisfying. But once you were a person facing off with her in reality, he couldn't believe anyone could bring themselves to like her. It wasn't that she was different from how she had been described in the story. In fact, the problem was that she was exactly as advertised, cruel and vicious, combined with an infatuation that made her throw her brain away. If you weren't the protagonist, you'd better run the hell away. The moment you threatened her or Luo Bingke's interests, even the tiniest bit, she'd want your life. She wouldn't even think of alternatives like chopping off your hands or feet or gouging out your eyes. Even if you were her father, you'd have to be careful. In the original work, to help Luo Bingke gain standing in the demon realm, she backstabbed the guy. Shen Qingzhou remained unflippable in the face of Shen Qingzhou remained unflappable. What? Unflappable? That's a word to use. In the face of Xia Huoling's provocations. He maintained his silence for a stretch, using the time to stare intensely at the crowd of demons. Only then did he turn, fixing his gaze on a certain person's direction. Luo Bingke, come here. Qingjing Peak's disciples fell into an uproar. The disciples from the other branches were calmer, as they weren't familiar with Qingjing Peak's internal politics. They even thought that Shen Qingzhou had certainly selected a disciple he was proud of, an unparalleled talent. That was the only way they could hope to best this demon elder, who appeared to be in his hundreds. It was strange that they'd never heard of this person, and he did seem rather young. Was it possible that Qingjing Peak's disciples weren't yet aware of Luo Bingke's true abilities? Mingfan's face had gone white. Shizun, he stammered. To send this little to send Luo Shidi, isn't it unbefitting? Oh, said Shen Qingzhou. Then will you go? Mingfan repeatedly shook his head, even though he didn't want to offer himself, and he would be happy to see Luo Bingke beaten to a pulp. This matter concerned their sect's honor. To let themselves be invaded and a peak's nameplate taken, and to set themselves up to lose this competition, Sangchong Mountain would lose face, and Qingjing Peak would lose a massive amount of face. Ning Yingying was even more anxious, to the point that she teared up. She defiantly grabbed Luo Bingke's arm while stomping and yelling, "No, no, no!" Luo Bingke had no real battle experience, and if he had to face a demon elder covered from head to toe with spikes and poison, carrying a hammer that weighed at least several hundred kilograms, he'd definitely be beaten to death. You lot think I want him to enter? I was also forced into this. I have no choice. Even so, Shen Qingzhou stated, I said he'll be our representative, so he will. Are you unsatisfied with this master's decision? Ying Ying, let go of him. Ning Ying Ying saw the stony look on her master's face and knew that there was nothing she could do. Lo Binka patted her soothingly. Don't worry, Shiji, he spoke in a steady voice, even though his face was stark white. I may be untalented, but if Shizun has chosen me, I will spare no effort. Even if I must stake my life, I won't lose face for the sect. Ning Ying rubbed away her tears and let go of Lo Binka's arm. As if she couldn't stand to stay there and watch her crush take a beating, she stomped her feet several times and ran off, whimpering. Shen Qingqiu was overjoyed. Good, run. If she ran, then the trouble she was supposed to make during this drama wouldn't crop up. The crowd saw that although the youth who approached was upright and honorable in body and spirit, with good potential and foundation, he was clearly a young disciple with shallow cultivation. In contrast, the demon representative, Elder Skyhammer, loomed with his bear-like build. Compared to Lo Binka's still developing figure, he radiated an impressive aura. His entire body emitted dark, roiling, demonic chi. Everyone, I almost went Australian, everyone felt hesitant. Everyone felt hesitation. Some hypothesized that perhaps Lo Binka was hiding his strength, but when the fight actually started, they were rendered speechless. Hiding his strength? No, this kid wouldn't be able to beat that guy. This wasn't a match. This was a one-sided beatdown. From the moment Lo Binka stepped forward, he essentially had no chance to strike. The demon elder's strength was incomparable, his swings filled with the vigor of a tiger. Even though Lo Binka did his best to dodge and search for an opening to attack, from time to time the hammer still managed to smash into him. Not only were Sangchong Mountain's disciples dumbstruck, the demons were also at a loss for words. This was too horrible. Isn't this outcome predetermined? Someone muttered. What's the point of continuing the match? Elder Skyhammer laughed skyward, the sound like a great bell. Well said. The child should hurry up and admit defeat when this elder can still spare his life. He will win, Shen Qingqiu said lightly. Bullshit. Lo Binka was the overpowered protagonist. Of course he was going to win. It was only that the path to victory would be difficult. Shen Qingqiu's voice was neither loud nor soft, but it had just enough volume to carry to the center of the match area. Lo Binka had directly taken multiple heavy blows, and he was holding back several mouthfuls of blood. When those confident words entered his ears, he somehow managed to swallow it down. He would win? Shizun had called on him to enter because he really thought Lo Binka would win? The horde of demons laughed and jeered. They shouted at Lo Binka to hurry up and admit defeat. Yet Lo Binka did not heed their wishes. Even as he took several more blows in a row, he became more and more poised, turning a deaf ear to the jeers and shouts from the crowd. His steps became lighter and more graceful. Soon, 9 times out of 10, Elder Skyhammer's giant weapon couldn't so much as brush him. The only places on Elder Skyhammer's body that weren't covered in spikes were his face and fists. This wasn't actually good news. It doubtless meant that the Elder had extensively trained these 2 places so that they wouldn't be vulnerable even without the protection of the poisonous spikes. At the same time, this was also very likely that the only breach in his defenses. Lo Binka slowed his breaths and attentively studied his opponent. On the surface, it had seemed that Shizun had chosen Lo Binka only to make things difficult for him. However, if Lo Binka lost this round, not only would he lose face, but the entire sect would as well. And furthermore, as the one who'd chosen to put him forward, Shen Qingqiu would be especially at fault. That meant that Shizun would only have chosen Lo Binka for this match if he really did firmly believe he would win. Thus did student Lo Binka's colorful imagination successfully activate the massive fog of misunderstanding system. Not only had ever... What? That was completely the wrong words. No one had ever believed in him like this. If only because he'd been entrusted with something so vitally important, he absolutely had to win and make everyone see. Once again, that huge hammer came whistling toward him. Lobinka's pupils shrank, Lobinka's pupils shrank, and gathering energy within his palms, he condensed his chi into an attack. The audience had been enthralled by this youth who kept persevering without hesitation. Though Lobinka had no opportunities to counterattack, he never gave up looking for a chance to do so, and he furthermore refused to admit defeat. In this instant, when the chance to counterattack finally came, Lobinka seized it with incomparable precision. The deadlock had lasted for nearly an hour, but the third match finally came to an end. Other than Shen Qingqiu, no one had anticipated this conclusion. Elder Skyhammer, who was covered from head to toe in poisonous spikes and boasted 100 years' worth of skill, had been defeated by a youth of 15 years. Sure enough, Lu Mingyan and Xia Hualing were drawn to Lobinka. Two pairs of beautiful eyes fixed neatly upon him, gazing at Lobinka's form and unwilling to divert their attention. Captured Lu Mingyan and Xia Hualing's interests, became famous in a fight during the battle with the demons who invaded Sangcheng Mountain Sect. Protagonist satisfaction points, plus 500. Shen Qingqiu was furious. How dare you? The deduction would have been 1,000, but the profit was only 500? Black-hearted system, double standards holding dog. However, it was fine, because now everyone was thinking the same thing. Though young, Lobinka was truly worthy of respect. Shen Qingqiu truly had indestructible depths. My lord, I don't know. There's really not like a good place to stop in this. I want to get a bit further, but how much is a bit? Oh boy. You know what? Maybe I could finish the chapter? It'd be like 15 pages. Maybe. Well, 14 because... or 13 maybe even. It's just like a bit more than 10 pages. I can do it. Xia Hualing held herself back for a long while, then finally squeezed out her concession. Sanchong Mountain is certainly full of talent and has produced generations of young heroes. Ling is indeed impressed. Well said, said Shen Qingqiu. Since we have our results, could the young miss withdraw with her people? Please excuse us for being such a mess right now. We're unable to continue entertaining our guests from far away. The meaning hidden within his words, well, it wasn't hidden. This was his direct command telling them to get out. Xia Hualing was filled with anger, but there was nowhere for it to go. Her fingers clenched in the gauzy red cloth on her body for a moment. Then she suddenly exploded. She reached out and gave Elder Skyhammer a fast and violent slap. To face Senior Shen's young disciple, and yet lose so badly? Her sweet voice said angrily. You've lost every last bit of face for the demon race. Elder Skyhammer was also pitiable. Hierarchy within the demon realm was strict, and Xia Hualing was a saintess of noble birth. He took the slap and could only grovel. He dared not fight back, only saying again and again, Your subordinate is incompetent and begs the saintess for punishment. Shen Qingqiu couldn't stand watch anymore. Miss Xia, if you wish to discipline your subordinates, please do so somewhere else. Chongding Peak is not a place for the nobility to throw their weight around. With that slap, Xia Hualing had vented her anger, finally releasing some of her resentment. She turned back, full of smiles. It is as you say, Senior Shen. It was just when Ling saw the incredible young talent you foster, then looked at the trash under her, her heart was filled with disappointment, so she lost control for a moment. I beg you not to laugh. She then turned, facing Elder Skyhammer with the expression of a wicked stepmother, one as cold as a refrigerator. For Elder Single Arm to lose to Senior Shen in their match was a matter of course, yet you also lost your match. There is no need for me to say anything. Figure out what to do yourself. As to what she meant by this, Elder Skyhammer clearly understood. His heart chilled on the spot. When they arrived, he thought that other than Shen Qingqiu, the people of Chongding Peak were a bunch of half-grown children, disciples with shallow cultivation. Hence, he'd wanted to take advantage of easy pickings to earn favor before the new saintess. He'd never thought that he'd fail terribly instead, to the point that he would lose his life. He looked up and saw Luo Binghe surrounded by the crowd, all asking concernedly after his well-being. Malice surged within him. He didn't dare touch Shen Qingqiu, but this child who'd brought him so much misfortune, he absolutely had to make him take his fair share of blame, and to drag him to death as well. Shen Qingqiu had been paying close attention to the demon's every movement and expression. He didn't miss the flash of nefarious intent in Elder Skyhammer's eyes. But demons were truly a bold race, taking action immediately and without even the slightest bit of buffering time. Only a second after coming up with the idea, Elder Skyhammer careened forward, swinging his weapon. Elder Skyhammer's body was large and tall, and he quickly closed the distance. Like a mountain of metal hurling toward Luo Binghe. Luo Binghe's injuries weren't light, and so his movements were sluggish. He would certainly be hit. Yet Shen Qingqiu let out a cold humph, and in a flash his figure suddenly appeared in Elder Skyhammer's path. With the tip of his fan, he tapped the bend of Elder Skyhammer's knee. Elder Skyhammer collapsed on the spot. He really collapsed. His entire body crashed to the ground, unconscious. As for that giant hammer, Shen Qingqiu casually scooped it up and held it in his hand, weighing it. As expected, it was a tad hefty. However, given the elegant quality of his image, holding a giant hammer wasn't very aesthetic, so Shen Qingqiu immediately hurled it into the horde of demons. With a muffled thud, the head of the hammer slammed to the ground. The display was significantly shocking, and his intimidating air became even more terrifying. He's so sexy. Shen Qingqiu, the man that you are. MXTX makes fun of airplane for bright as a rainbow but uses cold as a refrigerator or something. Wait, did I just gloss over that? Did I actually just gloss over that? That's amazing. It's so stupid. This is why I love this book so much. Oh my god. Shen Qingqiu's smile didn't reach his eyes. You wanted to kill him. The disciples under my tutelage are not yours to bully. When he spoke these words with awe-inspiring righteousness, not only were the demons at a loss for words, Shen Qingqiu himself felt his inner face redden slightly. Immortal Master, weren't you the one who sent your disciple out to be abused by others? Luo Binghe stared at the teal-clothed back before him, having forgotten to even say thanks. He only knew that his master had saved him yet again. Shizun was always like this. He would seem to be harsh on Luo Binghe, yet when it came down to the critical moment, he always stood before his student. Shen Qingqiu threw a glance behind him. Are you all right? Gotta shamelessly try to farm some more favor points. This disciple is fine, Luo Binghe said in a rush. Many thanks to Shizun for the assistance. This child is so foolishly sweet. Shen Qingqiu's inner face grew even redder, and he quickly turned back to Sha Hualing. Miss Sha, you need to properly discipline your subordinates. If you can't stand losing, why set yourself up for the potential of it with these 3 matches? Sha Hualing, also hadn't predicted Elder Skyhammer's attack and was slightly embarrassed. She was just about to say a couple of perfunctory words appropriate for an apology when, at that instant, something happened that no one could have predicted. Elder Skyhammer, who had been lying motionless on the ground, suddenly leapt up and hurled himself at Lo Binghe a second time. Shen Qingzhou had already taken his hammer. Did he intend to use his body to crush Lo Binghe? But as Shen Qingzhou took Elder Skyhammer's open arms and his pose that seemed like he was about to embrace Lo Binghe, his thoughts suddenly made several lightning-like turns, and his entire body broke out in a cold sweat. Fuck me. He's still wearing the poison-spiked armor. I love this book so much. It's just the fuck me. In an instant, Shen Qingzhou completely forgot about Lo Binghe's plot armor. At the moment of truth, subconsciously, he once again moved to protect his student. Shuya left its sheath, blade flash bright as snow. Blade flashed bright as snow and pierced Elder Skyhammer's hulking body. But the demon had an entire body's worth of brute force and all-out effort within him, and he didn't back down even when skewered. Instead, he seemed overjoyed, relentlessly careening forward, forcing Shuya to run clean through him and out his back, his face stretched in a sinister grin. And he threw himself at Shen Qingzhou. Shen Qingzhou swiftly made his decision. He promptly withdrew his attack, but it was too late. From his right arm came stabs of pain, and his heart chilled down to its depths. Skyhammer collapsed to the ground, spat out a mouthful of blood, and laughed madly. Shen Qingzhou, I've taken you down with me. Worth it. It was worth it. Shizun! Lo Binghe grabbed Shen Qingzhou's right hand. You've been pierced? And now it's time for the illustration. He's so cute. He's so cute. He's so cute. He's so precious. It's just a baby. Oh my god. His hand is ouch. He got an owie on his hand. Okay. Look how cute. Oh my god. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I just can't. Shen Qingzhou wrenched his hand free. Nothing's wrong. I wasn't pierced. Don't listen to the ravings of that blowhard. As he spoke, he glanced down, and his heart was once again blotted out by a frantic scream of fuck. From the back of his hand to his forearm were rows and rows of tiny pinholes. They were already turning red. Luckily, he didn't have trypophobia. However, once Lo Binghe saw his arm, his face went completely white. I wonder why this stream is lasting longer than the last one. I wonder too. It's crazy. It's as if this book has never once betrayed me. That's so crazy. No Bingy being shocked. I know. It hurts my heart. It hurts my heart. I can't do a British accent during my reading streams. Fuck's sake. Oh my god. Not right now. Not right now. Not right now. Not right now. Only when I'm talking, I suppose, but not as I'm reading, because that would ruin the whole vibe of the book. You see? No one could hear the raging waves in Shen Qingzhou's heart. Motherfucker, how many times has the male lead screwed you over? You were already told that he won't die, remember? He won't die. Why did you go out of your way to rush to rescue him? Fuck! Elder Skyhammer had finally dragged someone down with him, and it was a heavy weight. This elder has never... Who is speaking right now? Okay. This elder has never spoken only to scare, he said gleefully, no longer even a bit depressed. If I say this poison has no cure, then it has no cure. Peak Lord Shen, sit back and await your death. A blade flashed. Lord Binka pulled out Shuya and held it to the demon's throat. His movements so matchlessly agile that Shen Qingqiu nearly missed them. It seemed suddenly as if Luo Binghe were another person. Your people must have a cure, he said coldly. If you don't hand over the antidote, I'll definitely kill you first. Young master, Elder Skyhammer truly isn't lying, Sha Hualing interrupted. The poison is called without a cure. When it comes to humans, it indeed has no cure. The elder has lost his match and done something truly disgraceful. He knows only death awaits him. Why would he fear your threat? Without a cure. Never had less effort been put into naming a poison. Even though Shen Qingqiu had read the original work and had long known about this rare poison, he couldn't help lampshading and ranting about the pragmatism of great master airplane shooting towards the skies naming sense. Sha Hualing's eyes flashed. The second twist in circumstances had clearly inspired her to resume scheming something malicious. Shen Qingqiu nursed no illusions about her character. He circulated his spiritual energy to suppress the continuous waves of pain and twitching in his right arm, while his lips curved in a smile, purposefully putting on a mask of effortlessness. Your words aren't wrong, but has Miss Sha forgotten that I've already cultivated for many years, having achieved mid-core formation stage? Can I still be considered a common person? Sha Hualing's expression tinged. However, it quickly settled again, and she laughed delicately. Whether you're common or not, I don't know, but I do know a method by which we can determine whether Senior Shen has been successfully poisoned. When a person is affected without a cure, starting from their wound, their spiritual flow becomes disconnected. This schism slowly spreads to their entire body. In the end, not only does their spiritual qi coagulate and stagnate, so does their blood. I ask Senior Shen to unleash a spiritual blast with his right hand. Then we will understand. A spiritual blast, as the name implied, involved amassing a large amount of spiritual energy into a single point, then letting it violently explode, using the waves of the spiritual energy's powerful oscillations as an attack. The effect was similar to pulling a trigger and firing a bullet or hurling a detonator. It seemed that in reality, the impact depended on the cultivation of the user. Oh, I can take this down now. Sorry, I forgot. Shen Qingqiu had attempted it privately himself and had been unable to achieve an effect equivalent to throwing a grenade. And had been able to achieve an effect equivalent of throwing a grenade. But now his right arm was akin to an intricate robot's whose parts had short-circuited. Sorry, I'm burping. How many pages I got left? Oh shit, I have more pages. More pages than I thought. This is fun. Should I just stop before the end of the chapter? I don't know if I can make it. We'll see. I have like 5 pages, 7 pages left. He nevertheless exerted himself, but his spiritual flow had been completely cut off. God damn it. He couldn't have been crippled just like that, right? Upon hearing the description of without a cure, Luo Binghe's lips trembled. In this moment, all the wrongs Shen Qingqiu had committed against him in the past were wiped clean from his heart. The only thing he knew with absolute clarity was that the demons had harmed his teacher to the point that he might be crippled. He might even lose his life. And all because of him. Shen Qingzhou saw Luo Binghe's expression fluctuate, and he nonchalantly patted his student's head. No need to worry. Then Shen Qingzhou lifted his eyes, smiling slyly. There's no harm in trying. I can't do this without some recompense. Miss Shaw, today you ran amok on Chongding Peak, and this one has put up with it this far. Now I've changed my mind. I can't let you come and go as you please. If I do, won't Sangchong Mountain Sect be a laughingstock? How about we exchange a single palm strike under a contract of life and death? No matter who is injured and how, we bear all the blame ourselves. Whatever the result, we must accept it completely. Well? He couldn't show weakness now. All of Chongding Peak was depending on him, the only available member of the older generation to support them. Sha Hualing would be too merciless to pass up the opportunity if he fell. Best case scenario, the demons would destroy Chongding Hall, then carry its nameplate and mountain gates back to the demon realm, and therefore their sex reputation would plummet. Worst case scenario, it would be a massacre. Bruh. I don't think I can make it to the end of the chapter. It's so soon, but I'm so done. I can't go on. I can't go on. Shit, but I'm gonna have a break for You know what? Let me just get up and go to the bathroom for a second. Let me just walk around for a minute and see if I can finish this chapter. But yeah, I'm gonna do another BRB. Because it's almost 2 hours. But hopefully I'll be able to finish it after that. Alright. BRB. Okay, I am back. I'm ready. I ate some chips because my mouth needs a little refresher, you know? You know what I mean? Okay. We're doing this. Welcome back, eh? Yeah. We got like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like 5 more pages, okay? 5 more pages, and then we're done. Oh, chapter 2. I can do it! Yes, I can. Afraid it would be a massacre. He had no doubts that this woman was entirely capable of doing something like that. Better by far to take a desperate risk and make this one last gamble. He could totally take her out too. Shen Qingzhou hadn't noticed that, unconsciously, he no longer considered the disciples around him, whether they were anxious, resolute, furious, or indecisive, to be mob characters the novel had described in a scant number of words. Huh, okay. Xia Hualing bit at her lip, incredibly torn. If Shen Qingzhou hadn't really been poisoned, this exchange of blows would directly pit their spiritual strengths against each other, and she would definitely be killed. But if he was only bluffing, and she missed this chance to wipe out Changding Peak, wouldn't she regret it for the rest of her life? Shen Qingzhou calmly regarded her. His expression was neither that of anticipation nor avoidance as he awaited her decision. Lord Binka tugged on his sleeve. Shizun, this disciple is willing to take Shizun's place and receive this strike. Bingy! Bingy! Shen Qingzhou yanked his sleeve back, expression unchanging. In what universe is it acceptable for a master to cower behind his own disciple? Shizun was injured for this disciple's sake. Shen Qingzhou glared at him. Since you know it was for your sake, then put some effort into protecting your life. Lord Binka's heart suffered a heavy blow. He was unable to speak, but the rims of his eyes reddened. At last Xia Hualing gritted her teeth. Then, Senior Shen, please forgive Linger's rudeness. Come, show no mercy and let fate decide who lives or dies, Shen Qingzhou replied. Xia Hualing's heart thundered in her chest, and she didn't dare respond. Her fire-red figure rose with a leap as she charged forth, her snow-white jade-like palm billowing with potent, black, demonic chi. Shen Qingzhou kicked Lord Binka aside, having made his preparations. With this one strike, he'd ensure there were no winners. However, he was not sent flying by Xia Hualing's palm strike, nor did he cough up fresh blood as his body self-destructed and killed him. Roiling with killing intent, the master of Baijian Peak, whose sword had already left its sheath without even lifting a single finger, and using only the spiritual energy bursting forth from his body, blasted away Xia Hualing, even as she was attacking with her full strength. After a short silence, Changding Peak boiled over. Liu Shishu left seclusion! The Baijian Peak war god has left seclusion! You demons, let's see if you can still be arrogant now! The cheers were greater than the total amount of badass PowerPoints Shen Qingzhou had painstakingly farmed up until now. A rain of tears showered down on Shen Qingzhou's heart. You damn show-off! Would it kill you to arrive sooner? How about you leave some badass points for me? Badass points. Next, this world proved itself to be truly that of a fan-service-packed stallion novel. After Xia Hualing was blasted away, she let out a single delicate scream, and the gauzy red cloth draped over her body, that had barely covered anything in the first place, also tore to shreds, eliciting a series of alarmed cries from the onlookers. She cushioned her landing with a beautifully executed roll, propelling herself to standing in a single movement. Demons were indeed bold and unrestrained. Even though her entire body was censored out, Xia Hualing wasn't ashamed in the slightest. She spitefully tore off the cloak of a subordinate beside her, carelessly throwing it over herself. I underestimated you today, she said, but we will definitely meet again in the future. Let's go. Luchinga sneered. Coming and going as you please. How shameless. Dream on. His posture shifted, and his sword, Chengluan, soared into the sky, summoning sword glares by the hundreds and thousands, which arranged themselves into a glowing array before stabbing downward, descending like rain and hail on the demon horde. Xia Hualing led her troops and fled while summoning a bolt of red gauze over her head, which she threw upward. Unfortunately, it simply couldn't block the fierce rain of sword glares. The red gauze was quickly pierced full of holes. On top of that, Sangchong Mountain Sect's disciples were hemming the demons in, so most of the horde suffered great injuries or were captured. Only the small heart of the group that had kept near Xia Hualing managed to escape down the mountain, thoroughly battered and humiliated. After returning his sword to its sheath, Luchinga turned, stone-faced, to examine the condition of the wound on Shen Qingqiu's arm. My mind is doing its own things. The Qingjing Peak disciples also came to surround them. More than 10 faces, all filled with the same anxious expressions. Shen Qingqiu sighed. It was definitely the right decision to send Ying Ying to copy Xue Yi and what? Okay, it was definitely the right decision. Oh my god, can I please do this? It was definitely the right decision to send Ying Ying to copy Xu Yi and pound on the wall of Lingxi Caves, wailing until you came out. Whoa, why? What is wrong with me? Why can't I say that? Oh my god. It's not that hard, is it? It was definitely the right decision to send Ying Ying to copy Xue Yi and pound on the wall of Lingxi Caves, wailing until you came out. Footnote: nickname for actress Wang Lin, after the character she played in the Chinese soap opera Romance in the Rain. One of her most famous scenes involved her banging on the door to confront the girl who stole her fiancé. Huh. What does that say about Luchinga? It's fine. Who's Xue Yi? Asked Luchinga. The world's greatest beauty, said Shen Qingqiu. How am I? Luchinga humphed. You won't die for now. Though he said this, he didn't stop sending spiritual energy into Shen Qingqiu's body through his left hand, and his expression became increasingly grave. Shen Qingqiu looked at his hand, and Luchinga emphatically clarified. I'm repaying my debt from the Lingxi Caves. So damn tsundere. His plan to recruit Luchinga as a teammate had promise. But the meridians of Shen Qingqiu's entire body subsequently underwent a series of convulsions, and he was unable to smile. Lu Shishu, does the poison without a cure truly have no... Oh, this is Lobinka! This is Lobinka speaking. Lu Shishu, does the poison without a cure truly have no cure? Lobinka asked. Luchinga glanced at him, but before he could answer, Shen Qingqiu's knees wobbled and he almost fell into a kneel. Luckily, Lobinka had been supporting him the entire time, but Shen Qingqiu really couldn't stand anymore. He waved his hand. Let me lie down. Let me lie down for a while. Lobinka had never seen Shen Qingqiu so weak. He knelt beside Shen Qingqiu with bloodshot eyes, choking on sobs. Chizun! With great difficulty, Shen Qingqiu lifted an arm and patted Binga's head, like he always wanted to. The mouthful of fresh blood he'd been holding back finally spilled falteringly forth. Even if it was going to be like this, he persisted and tenaciously offered a crucial line to farm more favor. I knew that. You'd definitely win. Upon hearing this, a tremor traveled through Luobinka's entire body. Thinking about it afterward, Shen Qingzhou concluded that if he'd been looking at this from an omniscient reader's POV, sorry, I just said that in my head. I don't know why, it says point of view. It says point of view, it doesn't say POV. I did that myself, I'm sorry. What? If he had been reading this from an omniscient reader's point of view, he'd have had an outburst, smashing the book down and cursing. The fuck is with this character, huh? Hurting him one moment and saving him the next? He's messed up in the head. He's messed up in the head. Multiple personalities, nut job. At this time, the system sent a notification. Shen Qingzhou's character complexity rating plus 20, character depth rating plus 20, character suspense rating plus 10, total B points plus 50. Shen Qingzhou was horrified. This was how character this was how character depth was calculated? Also, please don't randomly create strange points. Thank you. His vision growing dark, Shen Qingzhou lifted his head, and he thought he saw Luo Binghe's tears falling from his eyes like pearls. He had to be mistaken. That was his last thought before he lost consciousness. And that is the end of chapter 2. We did it, folks. We did it. We did it, bitches. Oh my god, I'm so tired. Woohoo! Woohoo! God, I do love this book. I do love this book so much. Oh man, chapter 3 is long as hell. Does it even have any stopping points? Hello? Does it have any scene breaks? Yippee! Oh, that's what the next one is. Okay. Yeah, the next one doesn't really have any, scene breaks, so we're gonna have to, like, awkwardly stop in the middle of the next one, probably. Probably. But yes, that is all for today. Thank you for joining me today for this, reading. It's quite a long reading. It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes. That is wild. Anyway, if you don't know, I will be, yeah, okay, this is sad news now. Sad news time, depressing, sad, okay. Oh man, okay, so I will be taking a break for 2 weeks. From all streaming activities, probably from all social media, let's be real. I'm gonna be out. Because unfortunately, I don't want to say it. This is like, it's not your problem, but it's also like, you know, this will be why you won't be. I have to put my dog down, which is really sad. But he has issues. He has a plethora of health issues. So yeah, we just thought that before he's in any more pain than he needs to be, might as well just get it over with. So if you don't hear him in the future, damn, that's sad. Okay. Yeah, you won't really be hearing him in the future. No more tippy tappies. It's really sad. But yeah, I'll be dealing with that for the next 2 weeks. I might come back earlier, I might come back later, who knows? It's just reading, you know? It's not hard to do. It's also a nice distraction. So, that's what's happening. That's what's happening in my life, just to keep you updated. So you know what's going on. Songs is wanted, thank you. But yeah. That's all, I guess. That's all I have to say. Stay safe out there. Thanks for hanging out with me. Yeah, I think we'll just end here. This will be, yeah, this is my last stream before the break. So, see ya in 2 weeks. Stay safe. Mask up. Be cool. Okay, bye.